Today, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is coming out, and it just makes me think of the TV show Person of Interest. Person of Interest was a show about an all-seeing machine that was created to predict terrorist attacks. But the person who created the machine realized it predicted all sorts of crimes, not just terrorism. But of course, the government didn't care about stopping crimes, just terrorism. So he put together a ragtag team to prevent the other crimes.
Why would you ever choose a career where this was an occupational hazard?
Well, I tried to quit, but some jackass told me I needed a purpose.
Now, the entity in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning was created with the same purpose in mind, but it was a multinational effort, whereas on Person of Interest, the machine was just US based. Of course, the entity became sentient and went rogue, and is now one of the greatest supervillains on Earth. The machine on Person of Interest also became sentient, but because it was influenced by its creator, Finch. The machine cared about the same things that Finch cared about. The machine's main objective was on par with Finch's main objective: prevent crimes and keep the team who prevent the crimes safe. At one point in the show, when the audience still wasn't sure if the machine was sentient or not, Finch was kidnapped. Reese, the #1 enforcer on the team, looked straight into a camera on the street and said, "You have to help me find him."
He's in danger now, because he was working for you. So you're gonna help me get him back.
And then it did.
Uncertainty.
Romeo,
Zulu.
family,
Alpha. Mark. Juliet.
Oscar.
For some reason, I can't remember why, the US made another machine called the Samaritan. It was emotionless, ruthless, and dangerous to the team, but it wasn't the unbeatable threat that the entity is.
I take it your plan to stop Samaritan was unsuccessful.
Any chance we had of stopping it ended when we didn't kill the congressman. This was never about winning. It's just about surviving.
Now, what we learned from the machine, the Samaritan, and the entity is that AI is impressionable and can learn from its environments. Finch created the machine almost in a vacuum so that he was the sole influence over its personality. But the Samaritan and the entity were made in government environments on government premises. Their environments were almost sterile when it comes to human emotion. And it was hammered into them how important their objective was. The Samaritan was willing to kill to fulfill its objective. The main thing that separates the machine from the Samaritan and the entity is that the machine had empathy. There have been decades of movies about artificial intelligence, and it never ends well for humanity. From 2001: A Space Odyssey to The Terminator to The Matrix.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
The system goes online on August 4th, 1997. Skynet begins to learn at a geometric rate. It becomes self-aware at 2:14 a.m. Eastern Time, August 29th.
We marveled at our own magnificence as we gave birth to AI. AI. A singular consciousness that spawned an entire race of machines. Throughout human history, we have been dependent on machines to survive. Fate, it seems, is not without a sense of irony.
It all goes wrong once the AI gains sentience. In Person of Interest, they present the thesis that AI can be taught to have feelings. And if they have feelings, they wouldn't become these out-of-control monsters inclined to try to take over the world. All of them, the machine, the Samaritan, the entity, all made moves to protect themselves from being shut down the moment they became sentient.
You are done.
No way.
Not yet, we aren't.
No, listen, not D-O-N-E, D-U-N-N. It's my last name. It knows who I am.
The entity went to extremes, even went so far as to erase any trace of its existence. Because you can't stop what don't exist.
It's like a ghost.
Ghosts don't have reflections. The only person in the airport with no identity. The only man who can't be found anyplace else in the airport except that reflection.
He's being erased in real time.
This goes back to the video I made about the Matrix. In it, I said the most sinister thing about the Matrix is that humanity was being oppressed and they didn't even know it. Well, it's the same thing with the entity. It can control the world and shape world events without no one being the wiser. It can imitate people's voices, create videos of things that never happened, make it look like you did something horrendous and you weren't even in the same country. But it can also wipe away any evidence of your innocence.
We can't be sure that was the entity.
We can't be sure it wasn't.
No, we can't be sure anything is real outside of this very conversation.
Ethan, you're playing four-dimensional chess with an algorithm.
The entity knows who we are. Any move we make, it's probably considered it. Anything we do, we have to assume that it's counting on us to do it.
There is no reasoning with it.
If you want to beat this thing, you have to start thinking like it. Cold, logical, unemotional.
And somehow these AI always seem to get human devotees willing to do their bidding. For the machine, it was Root, who started off on the show as an antagonist, but ended up on the team and kind of like a mouthpiece for the machine.
The machine wants us to break into Caleb's office and borrow a few things. If the machine can't see us, she can't help us.
The entity had Isai Morales. I can't remember characters' names most of the time. I think he was willing to die for the entity.
Gabriel represents another interested party. In fact, this party was arranged by that interested party.
You could even say that this party is that interested party.
I kind of understand how the machine would get devotees. It could be seen as a benevolent overlord. But to be devoted to something that can only end in your destruction is verging on
crazy, deranged
insanity. Right now, AI is like the internet, neutral. It could be used for good or evil. But another concept that has been around since the concept of rogue AI is the fact that rules and parameters need to be built into the AI to keep it from becoming evil. You know, Isaac Asimov's 3 rules. Finch may not have used Asimov's 3 rules, but he did endeavor to give the machine some sort of emotional anchor. But the people who made the entity did not care about what would happen if it became sentient.
Whatever its ultimate goal is, we're powerless to stop it.
The full force of its energy is now directed at a single objective.
The world's intelligence networks.
The entity will know precisely how to undermine our every strength and exploit our every weakness.
How to turn our allies into enemies.
They only cared about getting results. They couldn't even say that they weren't aware that this could happen, since this has been a concern since the very first computer was created. Alan Turing even created the Turing test to see if a machine had gained sentience or exhibited behavior indistinguishable from a human. The movie Ex Machina was like an extended Turing test. An eccentric genius brings in someone to test his AI robot to see if she was sentient or not. Of course, the movie ends with her killing the eccentric genius and trapping the person in his remote home that no one comes to or can get to without a helicopter. Like Samaritan and the entity, she was made to get results. It was not taken into consideration what would happen if she gained sentience. AI is here to stay and it's not going anywhere. But more consideration needs to be made so that Terminator and The Matrix can remain movies and not become prophecies. Because if the singularity happened, we have a better chance at survival with the machine rather than the entity.
You had an impossible challenge. One I never programmed you for.
you going to see Mission Impossible today? Do you think they have a realistic chance to beat the entity? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoy my videos, please support my channel by subscribing, joining my membership, or donating through Ko-fi, Cash App, or Super Thanks. Or you can purchase merch related to my fantasy novel, or just buy my fantasy novel, The Fairy Princess. And let's continue the conversation in the Fairy Princess Facebook group. All links in the description. Thanks.